time again for the Masters. Players' shirts and hats emblazoned with logos from private planes and investment companies that most middle-class people will never deal with. Because it's the Masters on CBS.
Breaking the news that's already broken. It's time for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
Tiger Woods confirmed that he's playing in the Masters. Let's just hope he's improved his driving skills. The wife of Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford wants him to get a vasectomy. She should bring it up with his offensive line. They're the ones in charge of giving up sacks. It turns out Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's wedding in Vegas over the weekend may not have been official, but I can't believe a Kardashian would do something just for attention, said no one on earth.
It's 60 Minutes meets Gone in 60 Seconds. Tune in tomorrow for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
And now it's time for another episode of 1 Minute Inside a Woman's Head.
Well, I didn't win Mega Millions or the Powerball. Wasted $60 on tickets. But hey, I matched 2 numbers and the Powerball on 1 ticket. I won $7. Well, really, I lost $53. What was I thinking? Yeah, I was going to win the lottery. I've got better chances of getting struck by lightning twice. Great, now I'll be worried about getting struck by lightning next time it rains instead of spending my millions, living in a beach house, paying someone to get struck by lightning. Wait, why would I pay someone to get struck by lightning? Oh, what the hell? If I won the lottery, I could afford it. I could also afford to pay off my student loans, the house, the credit cards, and maybe retire someday.
And that was another episode of 1 Minute Inside a Woman's Head.
And now it's time for another episode of A Few Seconds Inside a Man's Head.
Well, I didn't win the lottery. Stayed up late to watch the drawings. 12 tickets and I got 1 lousy number. And what's with the dude doing the Mega Millions drawing? The least they could do is give us some eye candy to look at as a count the money I wasted on tickets. I mean, as a divorced guy, I'm used to having women around as my wallet's drained, right?
And that was another episode of A Few Seconds Inside a Man's Head.
You just can't do it like you used to do it. Good morning, I'm Rock 107's Prospector. This isn't some break about you getting old and geriatric and you can't do things we used to do. I'm talking about making movies. When you were a kid, yeah, the sex comedy, the big teen romp with all the boobs hanging out was a big thing in theaters, right? I mean, I remember seeing Porky's at the Ritz in downtown Scranton. Can't make that movie today. No. So here I am updating classic movies from our youth if they were made today. Today's edition, Porky's.
We should go to that Porky's place and get a hooker to help us lose our virginity.
First of all, they're sex workers. And secondly, we're too young to go into that bar.
Okay, can we peep at the girls in the shower after gym?
What? No. In fact, I'm letting the school administration know that they need to fix those walls in the girls' shower.
There it is, the movie Porky's, if it were made today on Rock 107.
Life's pretty tough right now. There's plenty of bad news, but it's not all bad. It's time for the brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
A couple on Vancouver Island near Seattle recently bought an old resort and were planning to turn it into an events center. But they're shelving those plans for now and using it to house Ukrainian refugees instead. They say it's big enough for about 100 people.
Thanks. We needed that. The brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
Can you do it? I can. Jim, Ed, Peggy, and Louise. Yeah, I did it. Woo! Good morning. I'm Rock 107's Prospector. Ancestry.com reports that over half of Americans don't know all 4 of their grandparents' names. Fortunately, I can save you from looking ancestrally stunted with today's list of top 5 best guesses for your grandparents' names if you can't remember them. Here we go. Number 5, Matlock. Top 5 best guesses for your grandparents' names if you can't remember them. Number 4, any character on Bridgerton. Number 3, Newt. Top 5 best guesses for your grandparents' names if you can't remember them. Number 2, Gandalf. And the number 1 best guess for your grandparents' name if you can't remember them, Madonna.
Smile, trying to have a little fun, and a guy named Mike gave me a call, and he had a great idea.
Okay, you're a concert promoter, and if you could put two bands together, I'm going to give you an example, like Rat and Poison, like Rat Poison. But, like, what would you do, like, if you, off the top of your head, could put two bands together like that?
Okay, how about the Cars and the Doors for the Car Doors tour? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for this morning. We got people in on open mic. We got people in on the rock line streaming in for these Make Sense tours. Walter, Facebook.com/Angry Prospector says, Sticks, Rolling Stones. Sticks and Stones tour. That's brilliant. Christina, Rush and Traffic. It's like the Rush Hour tour. That's awesome. Bob from Sweet Valley on the rock lines. Give me your tour. What do you got?
Yeah, how about the Them and the Beatles? Them Beatles.
Got one from Open Mic on the Rock 107 app for free download for your iPhone or Android. A tour that just makes sense together. What do you got?
Yeah, how about Led Zeppelin Crash Test Dummies?
Now, that one took me a second because I'm like, Zeppelin, and then I'm like, oh, wait, Led Zeppelin would crash test dummies. You could even do the Cars and crash test dummies. That would be a good one as well. John, he's checking in on Facebook.com/Angry Prospector, says Def Leppard, Blind Melon, and they can go out with Congress members on their re-election campaign and call it the Deaf, Blind, and Dumb Tour. Ryan checking in on social media. How about Corn and Hole, the Cornhole Tour? These are wonderful. Jake on Hunlock Creek on the rock lines. What do you have, buddy?
The Very White Stripes.
Oh, that's outstanding. Yeah, I love it.
I didn't know if it had to be classic rock or it could be anybody, but the Very White Stripes. It just made sense.
Rock 107.
Hey, Prospector. I got a puddle of mud and fish. We'll call it the Puddle of Muddy Fish Tour.
Yeah, that is a very good one as well. There's so many great ones that I never thought of, and thank you to everybody chiming in on Facebook.com/Angry Prospector and on the rock lines and open mic. Scott says the 5-course meal tour: meatloaf, bread, cream, corn, black-eyed peas. Very nice. Melissa, Police and Warrant, the Police Warrant Tour. And Cheryl says AC/DC and the Electric Light Orchestra Tour. Steve in Hazleton on the rock lines. We're putting together a Make Sense tour. What do you got?
Yeah, how about Yes and the Doobie Brothers? Yes, Doobie Brothers.
Who's not going to say yes to the Doobie Brothers?
Absolutely.
Ed from Pittston on the rock lines got a Make Sense tour for us. What do you got, Ed?
Prospector.
Yo.
How about Aerosmith and the Jefferson Airplane and call it the Aeroplanes Tour?
The Aeroplanes Tour works for me. And Jake, checking in on Facebook.com/Angry Prospector, says the Grateful Dead and the Sex Pistols call it the Grateful for Sex Tour.
What's a yambag? A fool, an idiot, a blockhead, a dunce, or an ignoramus. You know, a dullard, simpleton, or a clot, nitwit, dipstick, pea-brain, mouth breather, or cretin.
It's now time to announce the winner of Prospector's Yambag of the Day as decided by you at rock107.com.
Here are the nominees. Nominee number 1.
All right, here's the worst hobby ever. A 37-year-old crossing guard in New York was in the middle of doing her job Monday morning when she suddenly got hit by a flying glass bottle. Now, luckily, she's okay. It turned out a 30-year-old man named Tyreek Martin threw it at her. Cops caught up with him about 45 minutes later nearby, and when they asked him why he did it, he said that chucking bottles at unsuspecting people is something he just enjoys doing. He specifically said he tries to aim for their face, and it's not the first time he's done something like this. He's been arrested at least 70 times for various reasons, including drug charges and assault. Most recently, he got arrested last May for hitting a 2-year-old boy in a stroller with a suitcase. Now, the kid ended up with a small welt under his eye. Thankfully, it wasn't more serious. It turns out Tyreek had an active warrant for not sticking to a plea agreement from the suitcase incident, so he may be looking at some serious jail time.
Nominee number 2.
Police officers have to contend with a lot of nonsense in order to keep us safe. Even white witchery, apparently. A 74-year-old woman in Pennsylvania named Celesta Barker was upset with police last month because she didn't like that her grandson was hit with felony drug charges. She said he only had a small amount of marijuana and a pipe, So then she committed a felony of her own. She allegedly told an officer that she practices white witchery and he'd be a target if he didn't drop the drug charges. Now, I'm not clear exactly what white witchery is, but she suggested that it could push him down a flight of stairs or get him into a car accident. The cop asked if she was making threats, and she said, no, just making statements. She then asked if there was a law against that and was told there was, and then made another threat saying officers best be looking over their shoulder. She's now facing a felony charge of threatening unlawful harm to a public servant and was released on $10,000 bail.
And the winner is
the guy who told cops throwing bottles at unsuspecting people is just something he enjoys doing. You are the Yambag of the day, and we'll move on to Friday's Yambag of the Week competition. Keep it here for all the nominees for Prospector's Yambag of the Day, weekday mornings right here on Rock 107.
In the Prospector's Prime Cuts podcast. Be sure to catch us live weekdays from 5:30 to 10 a.m. on Rock 107 or online at rock107.com or the Rock 107 app. A free download for your Android or iPhone. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss Prospector's Prime Cuts.